story, I guess, is, well, how do I get the updates, and how do I know there are updates? And so what we're looking at here is the Saleslogix portal. And they do use Saleslogix for the Saleslogix portal. So this is, in essence, a modified version of the standard customer portal that's included with your Saleslogix system. They've made some changes to it. And I'll tell you up front that I'm logged into this portal as a business partner, so it's likely I'm seeing things that you won't see as a customer. So to get here, you have to be a registered support user with your company on the current maintenance business care plan. If all those things line up, you'll have a username and a password to get to what we're looking at here. But what I'm saying is you may not see things like marketing materials and so forth. I'm not exactly sure what a customer sees, but I do know that you're going to get to see the downloads. And so the downloads area on the nav bar brings up all these tabs across the top. So they've attempted to organize the updates by release level, and that's what you're seeing here. So if we look at Saleslogix updates for 8.1, here they are, and they also publish what they call add-ons, which are things like XBAR and Google integration stuff. That's not part of the core product, but they're add-ons that have come about over time. So you're going to see another folder for stuff like that. Here's one of the things that I'm used to, but I don't yet, and that is what you have to do is to be aware that an update's even available to you. You have to log in, click on the tab, see what's here, and then of course I have it sorted by the date of the post, so the newest stuff is bubbled up to the top, and so forth. We were trying to figure out a way to be alerted to this because it's, being authenticated against the Saleslogix system. We don't know if there's a way to use an RSS feeder or a Twitter feed or some alerting mechanism to let you know new files up there. So what do? If you are a registered support contact at your company, you should be receiving an email from development, from Saleslogix development, announcing a new update. So the first thing I'm going to say is, if you are somebody tasked with keeping your Saleslogix up to date on a call today, and you're not getting notifications, I would encourage you to talk to your business partner or Saleslogix to make sure that they have you identified as somebody who wants to know these things. That's going to give you access to this portal, and it's going to automatically enroll you in these alerts emails when they're posting new stuff up here. So that's thing one. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the different kinds of updates, because as of around June of last year, about the time that 8.0 came out, Saleslogix changed their nomenclature and they changed their methodology for introducing updates to Saleslogix customers. Those of you that have had it for a while remember service packs and hot fixes. We don't see those anymore because they've tried to break it apart so that installing and applying these updates isn't such a monumental task. They're trying to move it away from the whole project mentality into more of an event mentality, manageable bites, small bites that are trickling out over time, rather than the big annual service pack, forklift upgrade, as we would call it, where everything you've got is at risk, everything could be, broken, overwritten. They've attempted to streamline that a little bit more, and I think they have done that. I mean to say that they have done that. Okay, so where does that leave us today? So today they have 3 types of updates. And again, these replace what used to be hot fixes and service packs. And you can read it, but the general explanation is that web core updates, as the name implies, are targeting the web client. Now, here's where we have to be very cautious. You notice the next sentence says, not expected to affect customization. But the reason they make that statement is they've decided that any update that's part of a core update does not overwrite screens. So if you've got a custom account screen or a contact screen or a tab or something like that, where you've modified the out-of-the-box Saleslogix web screens, a core update is designed in such a way that it doesn't overwrite those. So the theory is you can safely install a web core update without the risk of overwriting a custom screen you have in your system. The reason I say that carefully is that we've found that that's not necessarily true, because there have been core updates that do overwrite some components that you may have customized. Not a screen necessarily, but maybe some kind of a script or business rule or code library or something like that, where your business partner or your developers made a change to a core file or web page that is at risk of having been overwritten if you just go ahead and apply it. So we're going to talk a little bit about customizations to the extent that I can today. I'm going to sort of explain how do you deal with customizations in an update. Now we get into web model update. Web model update is the opposite of a core update. It specifically targets out-of-the-box screens. And so there may be, if you've customized your account screen again, it's possible that a model update is going to overwrite your custom screen if you install it And so they're coming clean with the model update and saying, yes, we're going to change things in the interface, so make sure you examine what's going to happen before applying it in production, make adjustments as needed. Okay, both web core updates and web model updates are cumulative, and meaning if you are on, let's say, the standard 8.1, you've never put any updates in, you're just using it as it came on the disk, there has been core and model 01, core and model 02, and now core and model 03, and even a B. And so you can put in core and model updates with the understanding that they are cumulative. So they're going to include everything that's been changed and fixed from all previous releases from the standard install from the disk. Okay? So you don't have to install them sequentially. They don't have prerequisites of previous updates, that kind of thing. They are a cumulative update. The opposite is said for an SNC update. The third kind of update is a system and network client. These updates target executables, and so it's expected that an SNC update is going to overwrite executables, which could be the LAN client itself, could be, the Outlook integration, could be the application architect gets overwritten, and it can also include lots of code libraries that are the compiled parts of the Saleslogix solution. So these are parts that you don't have access to customize. Saleslogix has a pretty big footprint. There's lots of code libraries and executables and DLLs and yada yada. So all of those components, back-end files, are subject to be overwritten by an SNC update, okay? And unless the documentation says otherwise, again, these are non-cumulative. So you have to put in number 1, then number 2, and then number 3 if you're up to number 3. Hopefully that all makes sense. So as it says over here on the side, all these updates are posted on the partner portal, which we just looked at. They don't have an FTP site anymore. They used to before they introduced the portal. So unless you're on something older than 8.0, you may find certain update files back on the ftp.saleslogix.com site. But to my knowledge, they haven't put any new files up there since this portal concept was rolled out. All the updates include documentation, and we're going to take a look at that. And then they also mention there's additional details on the Saleslogix community site. And if you haven't seen that, this is the Saleslogix community site. And by the way, we'll make sure that we post the link to these 2 websites we talked about today, because you've got the portal, requires a login, requires you to be registered, and then you can get in and download stuff. The community site, anybody can log in. In fact, you can see all of this even if you are not registered. You can just hit the site and look at these forums and try to glean information out of the site. So I definitely encourage you to visit the site if you have questions or issues about an update. You'll see a specific area in here called administration. And there's no rules around where you have to post things if you're going to do that. But in the administration area, you're going to start to see some chatter in here about updates. You can't get the updates from here, but you can, see what people are saying about updates and maybe get some help with updates. You can see somebody asking about Web Core 3 here. So this is a great community place to get information and share information. Okay? Now, what I want to do is sort of transition into looking at the actual updates themselves. So let's take a note of that. So let's take a look at what does an update look like and what does it contain. So if I go to my desktop, and I should have a folder for the 03 updates in here. There we go. And so here I've downloaded those 3 updates. And let's just take a look at web models. So I open that up, I unzipped it, and they're always going to include a document on installing it, along with the various files that support the update. All of these updates follow a common theme when you look at the documentation they provide. And again, if you've ever put in an update, you've probably already seen this. So page 1 talks about what it is, and then it gets into the prerequisites. So these are components that have to be in place before you can apply this update. Now, I want to mention here, too, that one of the most helpful tools that I found, and we did this in a previous webinar, was the health check tool. So if you haven't downloaded the Saleslogix health check tool, I would encourage you to do that. The reason is it will give you all of this prerequisite information. It will tell you what versions of your database, your executables, your websites, any service packs, updates, fixes, model updates, yada, yada, all that's going to be there, including things like, do you have the right .NET framework installed, and so forth. So if you don't know if you meet all this criteria, the health checker will tell you that before you get started. Okay, so then of course it shifts into, well, what did they fix in this issue? And you'll see references to defect numbers. So they're using internal defects at Saleslogix to numerically represent what all the defects are that are fixed in this update. Now you may find that a lot of them you've never noticed or never had happen to you. A lot of them are, one of a kind, one customer had this issue, whatever. So they will potentially target very specific and unique problems of one customer. You'll also see a lot of things in here that deal with localization. Saleslogix is available in multi-languages. So a lot of these updates are riddled with localization updates that probably don't affect much of anybody on this call because I'm assuming you're all using the US version. So here you go. You can peruse the list, and it goes on and on and on and on about all the things that were repaired in this release. If you apply it, you're going to have the luxury of all these fixes. Now remember, we talked about the core and model updates are cumulative, and that's why they put in here what's previously fixed. So what they're saying is Model 02 addressed the following issues. So if you hadn't put in 02, you're going to get those fixes as well as everything above that that's described in 03. Okay, so you scroll and you scroll and you scroll. Now you get to the section that talks about the files themselves. These are the files that are going to be installed and potentially replacing forms that you already have on your Saleslogix website. For example, account associations. So my first red flag if I was a Saleslogix administrator would be, uh-oh, we modified the account associations tab. So therefore, this is at risk of overriding my customizations. If I just put this in, there's a chance everything I did is going to be gone, and I'm going to get an out-of-the-box screen in its place. So as you can see, model update is all about the user interface. And there's a lot of screens that are overwritten with this update. And it, again, it goes on and on and on, and you can scroll and scroll and scroll and see every net new file that's going to be put in place on your system. Once you install the zip file, build the site, and redeploy the site, it's going to replace any previous pages. Okay, so hopefully that part all makes sense. So I'm just going to keep scrolling because this is a whopper. Seems to touch just about everything. You can also see we're getting into snippet libraries. So even though these aren't parts of the code that directly involve what a user sees, it is code that calls into action if they click a button or change a field or click on something in the screen. That's likely calling into action some code library, and you have to determine, okay, did you modify one of those? And if you did, it's going to get overwritten. So you get the gist of that. So we'll keep scrolling here. Okay, now we're talking about applying the update, and this is similar for all three types of updates. When you double-click on the executable for an SNC update, for example, it's going to present you with an install screen, and it's going to tell you, I'm going to replace the architect. I'm going to replace the Saleslogix client. I'm going to replace the application architect and the job service manager. So it's going to tell you it's going to replace all these executables, but the web core and the web model updates, because they have web bundles in them, they are going to replace screens and web code. So this particular one talks about it affects the web client and the customer portal. Now, what it doesn't update is, for example, the mobile client. And so if you're using the mobile client, you can be comfortable with the fact that this update does not touch the mobile site, but it does touch the web client and the customer portal, as you saw in the listing above, the 6 pages of stuff. Okay, now I'm going to say right up front, it's beyond the scope of my capability in today's webinar to go through how to install one of these, but I am going to walk you through kind of the high-level pieces and parts, and also kind of talk about how we do it at Customer FX, because a great majority of the time, in fact, I can't think of any examples, anytime we're asked by our customers to apply an update, they have a custom system. That's certainly one of the values of Saleslogix as a product is it's a highly customizable solution that can be tailored for your business. Great. But when these updates come out, it also means that some or all of what had been customized in the past is at risk. So we have to figure out how to make your previous customizations work with these new screens that you saw this was an update. So we're going to talk about that. Now, this is where they really gloss over how to do that, because you can see, okay, you install the bundle, you open the architect, you right-click on the Project Explorer, you choose the bundle and you click Next. Okay, seems straightforward. But here we go. Here's the catch. If you have customized your web files, you may receive a message that the bundle contains conflicts with existing items. Well, we already know it's going to be full of them because we saw the screens that change. So it says, see the application architect help topic called merging changes during bundle installation. Great. Okay, that's the heavy lifting right there. So they make no attempt to tell you how to do it. They just say you're going to have to do it, right? So we're going to sort of explain that to you here. At least I'll take a shot at it. And again, I'm certainly not a developer. It's way above my pay grade. But what I did was I went into the application architect. In fact, I'll just do it because it only takes a second. Hopefully it still works. And first of all, they talk about the help. Okay, so in the help file in the architect, it explains to you that you have to use a differential tool. And the first thing I did was I told it what differentiation tool I'm using, or a differencing tool. We use a tool called Beyond Compare. It is a third-party software package that allows you to compare the contents of two files side by side. You can also do it for folders, folder differences side by side, but because the Saleslogix web client is made up of XML files, text files that are XML, we use Beyond Compare to show me the old one or the current one against the new one. And I'll show you how cool that is. So we told Saleslogix, when you get to the point where I need to, look at the differences, fire off Beyond Compare. And so in the help file, it talks about installing a bundle, picking the path. You've probably done this before. And then it talks about stop when it requires user intervention because you've got a duplicate item. It may not be the same. Okay, I get it. And then it talks about in the install action drop-down list, click on if merge. If merge is just saying it allows you to use this third-party differencing tool to compare your customizations. Pretty cool. So we did that. And there's, they even give you the website here. It's like $50 for this tool. It's not the only one out there, but it seems to be the one everybody settled on and Saleslogix recommends, right? Sweeter software, and you can download it, and I do have a trial version I'll pop up and show you. Okay, so if we do that, I'm going to right-click on here and install a bundle, and I'm going to find my bundle that came with Web Model 03, and I'm going to open that guy up. And it's going to say, okay, I found this zip file that's got all these changes in it, and I click Next. Now, here's where it gets interesting or ugly, depending on how custom your system is. It's telling me right up front, this bundle contains 172 items that conflict with existing items in your project being your current Saleslogix website, right? So you can either step through them sequentially, or you can open these up and look at anything that's red contains a conflict. So like we can see secured actions, we can see the report manager's page has a conflict, and we can look at, the integration page has a conflict. And so you can click on these, and if you click on one that's red, you notice I have all these options down below here. And the options are, upon installing this new bundle, I can just tell it to overwrite everything. I don't care about my customizations. I want everything to be net new. Throw away all my custom stuff. I don't really see you doing that, but you could. Or you don't have to do, the whole thing. You can step through all 172 and decide one by one what you want to do with what is conflicting. But we still don't know what the conflict is. We just know there is one, okay? So this is where you get into diff merging. And because I said for this item, I want to look at the differences before you throw one out, throw the other one out, or attempting merging of them together. So what do you get if you do that? You get this. And so this is now the Beyond Compare from ScooterWorks showing me the source, your current web page that it said was conflicting against the new one. And it does a great job of telling me, okay, got, this is a huge file, but everything that has this little red tick mark over in the panel on the left is where I'm seeing differences, okay? And it's going, you know, the source has this, but the new stuff has this, and then what do you want to do about it? So this is a workbench where you can highlight text out of these XML files and copy them over into the old site, or if you like have a custom button or something that it found in your old site, and really the only thing that's different is this funny custom button, you can copy that block of code and move it that way and put it in the new one. So your options are the keeper page can either be your source with the changes merged in, or the new one where you copied your customizations over into it. So hopefully this is somewhat logical. Now, anybody on the call who's not a developer like me, this is a deer in the headlights experience because I have no idea what I'm looking at. I don't know what this stuff does. I don't know what it means, other than these XML pages create websites that the Saleslogix users interact with, and it's all sitting here in code. And if you are a developer, you probably do know what it means. And so this is part of this whole update process, is to create the master updated pages step by step, and away you go.